Standing alone in the fantasy section of the library was Erin and a strange boy known as Fex. Erin was still holding a vampire love story in her hand, and her face had gone bright red as she couldn't believe someone had just caught her reading such a dirty book. Quickly hoping to avoid further embarrassment, Erin put the book back where it was placed and started to walk over towards the boy. Fex started to smile. "Now, why don't you lift your head so I can take another look at your pretty face?" Erin lifted her head, but dashed forward in an instant. A type of ice sword was forming in her right hand. Using her forearm, she pushed Fex up against the wall right by his neck. The area started to freeze, and now the ice sword was pointed right at his throat. "If you tell anyone about what you saw today, you're dead, you hear me?" "Look, I don't want to cause any trouble," he said. Erin looked at him carefully, noticing all the features that he had. "Good. I will remember you, and if anyone finds out about what you saw today, I'll be coming back for you," Erin said as she took away the ice sword. She then started her exit, leaving Fex in this sticky situation, frozen to the wall with the ice, still confining his body. "Wait!" he shouted. "Aren't you going to let me go?" Eventually, Erin had left the library. The other people who were nearby going to look at the commotion down the aisle, wondering what was going on. However, all they could see was a single man stuck up against the wall. A few laughed and giggled as it wasn't the first time they had seen something like this. After all, few of the braver boys among the first-year students had tried to confess their love to Erin. She would often leave them there frozen in place while waiting for the ice to melt. She did this as a warning for other suitors in the future. While no one was looking, Fex used his strength to break free both of his arms from the ice. He then used his hands to crack the ice that was around his neck as well. "Looks like someone was able to resist my charm already," Fex said. "Well now, that just makes me want to go after her more." Fex's original plan was to travel and explore the human world, to experience all the things his grandfather had told him, but his plans were quickly stopped once he was caught. When he woke up, he was in front of General Nathan. However, Nathan did say that as long as he contacted his guardians, informed them, and showed proof of his age, they would set him free. A digital display then appeared in front of Fex's face with a little digital keyboard. It asked him what type of ability he had. For this question, he had a plan. After checking over the details and seeing Fex's ability, no more work needed to be done. A wristwatch was given to Fex before leaving. The display on the device was showing the number 1. Not knowing what to do, and knowing nearly no one at the base, Fex decided to head to the library to update himself on current events. This led him to his first real encounter with another student, Erin. The rest of the story was what got him frozen to a wall. After looking at a few books about vampires, he quickly realized that most of them were just a bunch of nonsense. As Fex was leaving the library, he had no idea what to do, so he decided that he would just go to his dorm room. While walking down the hallway towards the staircase, he caught a whiff of scent with his nose, and a familiar smell registered in his mind. "Now this is interesting. I wonder what family he belongs to. What on earth is he doing at this base?" Fex thought. In the dark alley away from the prying eyes, the two of them stood there in shock as they watched Peter feasting on a human body. Seeing the atrocious sight, Layla could no longer stomach it. "I think I'm just going to step out of the alley for a bit and keep watch," Layla said as she quickly rushed out. "Peter!" Vorden said in an aggressive but quiet voice. "Peter!" Suddenly, Peter seemed to snap out of whatever daze he was in. He immediately dropped what was in his hand and started to scurry away into the alley. "Was this me?" Peter said as he thought back to what had happened just moments ago. When Earl had called out to him and kicked him down the alley, a type of rage had consumed him. Then, soon after, Earl became a tasty snack for Peter. Peter would have liked to say his mind was out of it. He didn't know what he was doing, but he knew that was a lie. Peter knew exactly what he was doing. The only thing Peter didn't plan for was what happened after. Right now, in front of Vorden, Peter needed to keep up his act as a weak-minded boy. He was too worried about what the others would think of him if they found out he knew exactly what he had just done. I just killed someone," Peter said. "Cut the crap," Vorden said. "Now is not the time to act like this. How long has he been dead for?" "What do you mean?" Peter replied. "I said how long. It's important, Peter. 5 minutes? 10 minutes? The panic in Vorden's voice seemed to be getting urgent. "I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, I would say," Peter answered. Wasting no time, he then grabbed Peter by the arm and dragged him out of the alley. "We have to get out of here now," he said with urgency in his voice. When the area was clear, they would walk again until they finally returned to the open spot in the forest where they were practicing a while ago. "What was the big rush back there? We just left the body in the alleyway. Won't the school find out that a student died?" Layla asked. "We had no choice," Vorden replied. "Maybe if we had gotten there a little earlier, we could have done something, taken the body with us. But once the watch is taken off or detects no sign of life, it pings a message to the school. Fortunately for us, the watch waits a full 5 minutes before sending this type of thing. That's why I was in a rush. If we were seen, there's nothing we could have done. At least now we won't be caught." "But what about the body? Won't they search for whoever did this?" Just as Layla said this, the sound of leaves ruffling on the floor could be heard as another person entered this part of the forest. It was a student holding an umbrella in his hand. "What body are you guys talking about?" Quinn asked. Once the strange feeling had come over, Quinn's body had disappeared. A message appeared, one stating that one of his family members had gotten stronger. The strange sensation and connection between him and Peter. It was a similar feeling to when he consumed blood, but it wasn't getting him stronger, it was Peter. "I'm sorry, Logan. Thanks all for your help, but I don't have time to talk now. I have to go," Quinn shouted. With that, Quinn ran down the hallway and the staircase, rushing over to where Peter was. Without slowing down, Quinn ran down the stairs and out the hallway, ignoring everyone he went past. But for the first time, a strange scent entered his nose. It was unusual for Quinn, as he had never smelt this before. If he wasn't in such a rush and panic, he would have turned around to see who was giving off such a strange smell. Before leaving the school, he grabbed a random umbrella at the entrance. Once he had left the academy, he continued to listen to his body, following the connection, which eventually led him to the park and finally inside the forest. As he arrived, he managed to hear the last few words that Layla had said. However, there wasn't much to ask. Judging by the system's message, Quinn could guess what had happened already. Peter had eaten human flesh, and most likely killed someone in the process. While Quinn wanted to blame Peter for the actions, he really couldn't. Quinn was the one who turned him into this creature, and he knew exactly what it was like. As Vorden was exiting the forest from where Quinn had gone, he whispered into Quinn's ear, "You need to do something about him, and fast." "Now, can one of you please tell me what happened?" Quinn asked. Meanwhile, Vorden made sure to cover the clothes as best as he could. Then, from his and Peter's closets, he grabbed a change of clothing. With a new set of clothes for Peter in one bag and the bloody clothes in the other, he needed to find a way to get rid of the evidence. Just as he was walking down the hall wondering what to do about it, he spotted someone who would make his life a lot easier for him. "Hey, Berg," Vorden said. "How are you doing?" Placing the bag in his left hand into his other hand, he touched Berg on the shoulder and successfully copied his flame abilities. "Oh, Vorden," Berg said with a fake smile on his face. "It's so nice to see you. About those crystals, you don't have to worry about giving them back. Think of it as a gift from my family to yours." "Oh, thanks. I was just coming to check if that was okay with you," Vorden replied. But while Vorden was doing his best to fake a conversation, he noticed that many of the students in the hallway were gossiping about something. "Did you hear about what they found?" one of the students said. "You mean that thing they found behind the second-year building?" another replied. "Yeah, all the students are outside, while the school's investigation team is trying to find out what happened. I think maybe a student got killed." Using this opportunity, Vorden was able to sneak off into a secluded area and burn all the evidence without anyone noticing. Several soldiers were standing outside the second-year building. They were blocking all the entrances both at the front and backside of the building. Looking around the gruesome scene of the murder, Haley and Faye were reminded of things they had seen on the battlefield during the war. That's how bad it looked to them. As Haley was kneeling on the floor and examining body parts, she seemed to be unaffected by the whole thing. After she had looked around for a while, it seemed like she had spotted something interesting. She started to pick up body parts one by one and place them in a specific order. "I noticed something strange about all the parts I've gathered and lined up. They all have one thing in common," Haley replied. "As far as I can see, the only thing they have in common is that they are spattered with blood all over. So what did you notice?" Faye asked as she looked around. She was trying to see what Haley had noticed. Haley picked up one of the body parts which looked like part of a leg. She then showed it to Faye and said, You see this here?" While she pointed at 2 puncture marks. "For the most part, it looks like whoever or whatever did this used some type of claw to dig into this student's flesh, but on a few body parts, I noticed those puncture wounds that look like teeth marks." "Okay, I see what you're saying," Faye said with confusion on her face. "Well, the thing is, this isn't the first time that I've seen these kinds of marks. Do you remember when we went through the red portal and we discovered the true dream member?" Haley asked. "Well, he wasn't the only one. I've seen the same marks on other students in the sickbay before." "You're not saying those 2 students could have anything to do with it, are you?" Faye asked incredulously. "I'm not saying that they are the culprit, but whatever it is, it's following them around or linked to them in some way," Haley replied. Inside the first-year building dorm room, the group had gathered. "Damn it!" Layla shouted. "Now that I've witnessed everything, I'll be called an accomplice. If they find out about this, we could be put in the dungeon. What will I tell my parents then?" It was the first time the group had seen Layla so freaked out. "Peter, I think you owe us an explanation," Vorden said. "Fair enough, if you were hungry and needed to eat something, why didn't you come to us?" "I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me," Peter said. "When the hunger grew and Earl slapped me, I just lost control. When I finally regained control, I was already eating his corpse. I don't know what happened in between." Peter turned out to be quite an impressive actor. He looked frightened and worried, and everyone there bought it. Although, there was one exception. "He's lying," the system said.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.